Okay, folks, guess what this is all about? Are Fife house prices set to fall this autumn? QVT. So the land and buildings transaction tax holiday is actually over. We've also got furlough is finishing the end of September. Unemployment is due to rise and inflation is absolutely rife. So inflation is going up to about 5%, probably by Christmas. So is this the end of the post-lockdown Fife property boom? Are we going the right way with it? Surely we're heading for a house price correction. And here's Perry in the green room. Oh, Perry, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good, thank you, with my nice Christmassy jumper on, which will be explained at another date.
We've been doing Christmas promotional stuff for today, yeah?
We've been planning, yes.
You know, where are we going with this? I mean, our prices set to fall this autumn. Surely we're kind of heading for a house price correction. I mean, forecasting what will happen in the Fife property market this autumn is not that simple as it first appears in the process. It's true that the Fife property market is starting to settle down and an all-time number of property deals completed in June. I mean, have you seen this, Perry, where we're getting a bit quieter?
To be honest, I can't see that reflected in our day-to-day activity. No, certainly I think that people are taking advantage, Jim, of the prepare in the autumn to get ready because of your previous communications where people can see actually it's going to take them till February, March. So actually, while people are thinking now towards Christmas, etc., the wiser ones that are picking up on the point, actually, if I want to move into February, March time, I really do need to do it now. So we're not seeing any slow progress at all. I have just had a situation just now where we've done a coming soon video outside a property, and a lady that I've been trying to help find a property for quite some time has already seen us go live with that coming soon and is instantly pinged me to say, this is exactly what we're looking for. Please give me all the details when it becomes available. So The people looking for property are still out there, absolutely. And we are as busy as ever.
It's quite surprising that more Fife people actually in 2021 will have moved in the most this year since any other year since 2007. Well, an estimated 1.5 million home buyers nationally haven't actually bought a property in 2021 itself. Roll back the clock to last Christmas, and the government Office of Budget Responsibility projected national house prices would actually drop between 6 and 8%, and yet we're getting offers at average of 16%?
Yeah, exactly. No, we're not seeing that at all in regards to any decline.
That, when you look at it, I mean, let's look at by Christmas. I mean, look at this. By Christmas, the price of an average home in Fife will be about £195,300. I mean, that's up 3.2% on last Christmas itself. I mean, let's not forget that there were also ambiguities at the start of 2021. They were about to start a 5-month lockdown. Hospitals were bursting at the seams with patients and vaccines hadn't started. 4 in 10 employers had furloughed their staff, and we had just had a Brexit. Things didn't really look good, did they?
They didn't, but I think that people have refocused, haven't they? People are getting back to work. People are getting a bit calmer about situations. People's lives have been impacted quite substantially over this last 12 months, and that could be in varying degrees. Sad as it sounds, but some people are not together, so they're looking for separate homes, so they need to sell. Other people have lived away from family and now have realised how important family is, so they need to move. Other people have realised, actually, this house isn't my dream home, so I want to move, whether that's upsizing or downsizing. So we're not seeing that impact. Absolutely.
That's a big thing, though. I mean, a lot of people are actually. I mean, we're coming back to the saying that lockdown's taught us a lot about the fact that how we live and from day to day and quality of life.
Absolutely, it has. I personally have experienced that. Anybody who's kind of viewing this now knows my story there. But I'm actually speaking to people constantly who have the same experience. I have a lady that I've been chatting to over various things, and she's in exactly that same situation, has sold the big property that they had because they suddenly realised it was too much, have gone into a rented situation, which is smaller than where they've come from. And the intention was always then to go back to a similar from what she had left, and has now decided, actually, I'm not going to go back to similar to what I've left because I'm quite liking this. So now I'm going to buy something similar to this in this area that gives me the happiness that I want from my life.
Oh, wow. And that was all just out of the fact of lockdown?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing when you think about how that's taught us. I mean, it has really turned the housing market on its head, hasn't it?
Very much.
I mean, nothing can be further from the truth. 10 months later, the Fife property market has been on fire since all that time. But after the heated summer in the Fife property market itself, things certainly can't carry on as they've been since the end of lockdown. So where are we with the Fife property market as it stands? Taking reference to historical data, when you think about it, on the website, the advisory, and I'd certainly recommend people check that out. 75% of properties on the market in Fife today are actually sold subject to contract. Now, how does that compare with 2019 and 2017? Well, would it surprise you if I said in 2017, 36% of properties were actually sold subject to contract? Aye. And
it's the other side of the spectrum almost, isn't it? Yeah.
So we've almost flipped in the last 3 or 4 years. And, halfway in 2019, and now we're at the other end of the spectrum where most properties on the market just now are under offer and sold. The majority are.
And we're seeing that actually, Jim, aren't we, with our conveyancing partners? Our conveyancing partners are saying to us that it's just not slowing up for them. And it's not a surprise when you actually see that data, isn't it? They've got almost 3 times the work to do.
Yeah. I mean, how does it compare to the national picture? Well, 2017, 39.72% of the country's properties were actually sold in 2017. 2019, it was 38%. And as we enter the last 3 months of the year, there are not so many uncertainties as to where it starts in it started of 2021. On the good news front, 49 million Brits have at least had one job, 45 million 2 jobs, and the UK will be the world's fastest growing advanced economy, according to the IMF. How on earth did that happen? I remember 2 years ago, we were talking about us being the slowest economy, and now, according to the IMF, we're going to be one of the fastest advanced economies coming out of COVID. What will that do for property prices? Where does that go with that then?
I don't know, because I mean, we are busy when we were supposedly in the points of stepping out of it, aren't we? Is what they're reporting. So if we are in this position at the moment when we're just stepping out to it to improve the economy, that would tell me actually it's going to get faster paced and even more of a challenge for people.
When the furlough schemes just ended in September there now, and energy prices are going through the roof, as you know, a real shortage of homes, as we've discussed earlier in recent blogs and vlogs, the rising inflation on the back of the shortage of raw materials, the trained staff, forecasting this and what will happen to Fife house prices might not be really as easy as it seems. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I think it's difficult to forecast it, and actually our daily interactions with people that are registering with us, or when we're speaking to people who are they've seen maybe a property that they like with us and they haven't put theirs on the market, but they want to still go and see the other one. And we are actually in a situation where we're having to say, well, I'm really sorry, but until you do what you need to do. And they're saying, well, I would love to do what I need to do, but actually I've got some work that needs done and I can't get workmen to do it. We had a gentleman that actually has bids on a property who needs a roofing inspection, and he's phoned nearly every roofing inspector company in Fife and cannot get somebody to come and do it so that he can comply with the offer that he's put and the conditions that he's put on his offer.
Do you think that comes down to the fact that you should have made sure you looked after your contractors in the past?
Potentially. I've got no comment to make other than that.
Because I always say, look after them on the way up, because I tell you what, you'll probably need them on the way down.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone needs that help, don't they? And everyone needs a solid team behind them, irrelevant of where they fit within your business and your structure, isn't it?
So let's look at post land and building transaction tax holiday. It's now recognised that the majority of demand for the people moving home is focused on by the profound unhappiness. It's not really anything to do with the fact that they were getting exemptions from landed buildings and stamp duty and all the rest of it. It's a profound unhappiness. It's frustration with the homes they currently live in, and that's been revealed during the lockdown in 2020. That really comes through, doesn't it?
It does come through, and it's not about just the unhappiness side of things as well. I mean, there's a sad side to this story as well, Jim, and so much as, again, I feel like I keep saying this, but we speak to such a spectrum of clients. But literally this week as well, I've also spoken to someone who unfortunately has found themselves in a situation where they have to sell their property because the effects that COVID has had on ill health in the home. And so therefore, actually, the current property you're in is not a viable option for you anymore. So there's multiple reasons why people are having to move at the moment. And some of them are positives and some of them are negatives, but the negatives for, again, varying degree. It could be on separation, ill health, property doesn't work, kids have moved out. There's so much is happening in people's worlds just now. And I think it has been compounded by everything that we've gone through. And I think actually that, when you watch the news, you see all these reports that say, we're going to be another year before we recover. And I don't know, the impacts of it are there in regards to recovery. We're not seeing that in our property market, but I think for recovery for people as a whole, all of these things that we're speaking about, I think are going to impact them, and they don't know it yet.
Yeah, there's James saying that the Zoopla have refreshed their estimates this morning. I've actually yet to read that email. I've not got a chance to, but he says they're up 1.7% in September to August. And that's only a guide and not always anywhere near accurate in terms of the market. So, we're yet to bring out these figures in terms of this. I mean, buyers and tenants should take note in Fife Better landlords. So buyers want space. In fact, 3 types of space, and they'll pay handsomely for them. So this is key for landlords and also obviously for sellers as well. Office space, I mean, be that a bedroom or a study, outside space, gardens, proximity to green areas as well. Broadband, which is out of space, download speeds, has really probably become essential, isn't it? I mean, this is the type of broadband that's allowed us to do shows like this. Because if it wasn't for super fast, I can't imagine we've been able to do this really accurately on a normal BT service or anything else.
You wouldn't. And actually, when I do viewings with clients, a lot of clients are saying to me, what is the broadband speed like? Because a lot of people are now working from home, aren't they? Where they've never really relied on it. They've used it as a social connection, but now it's actually their business connection, whether it be that they're employed by a company or actually running their own business. And if you're running your own business, it's even more of a priority. But if you're trying to secure your own position in an organization, it's not going to be very good for you if you go on your Zoom meeting and you can't get connected. So I think, we see the jovial things on television to try and make light of that, but it's quite a serious thing. So, it does come into it.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask them, and we'll be happy to answer them on this subject. And whilst there's a shortage of properties coming onto the market, demand and supply economics mean really, I mean, ultimately that Fife house prices should remain relatively stable going into 2022. I don't foresee anything fundamentally happening. Do you?
No, I mean, let's think about it. We're going into November next week, so and we're not seeing any slowdown, Jim. I mean, I've not been in the industry at this time of year, but discussions that we've held, you've said, normally at this time people are on a bit of a wind down. They're already doing the Christmas planning. We're not able to catch a breath yet. We are still full tilt working and with similar inquiries coming in. So I can't see it happening.
I think when we come into this period, I always say to myself, you're only as busy or as quiet as you want to be. And I tend to think that quite a lot of other estate agents actually switch off. I don't think the public switches off. I think it's the fact that they tend to give the advice of wait till after the new year, and everybody's conditioned to wait till after the new year. But that works on a traditional old-fashioned model, which is basically quill and ink. Pre-internet, that worked. Wait till next year because that's when everybody's nesting and all the rest of it and preparing for so-called spring. But that doesn't happen anymore because you've got everything at your fingertips in this thing, a mobile phone.
Correct.
This gives you instant access to every single property that comes on the market, and no one actually stops their children growing up and says, by the way, stop growing up for the next 4 months because that's when we're going to get our new house. No, we'll need to get something in the next couple of months, or we'll need to get something from 3 months before to get something before Christmas, because the reality is we're needing a lot more space now, and 3 or 4 months isn't going to wait that long. So you still have all these people out there. They have access to mobile phones, which have access to all the internet, to social media, and all these different videos and footage that come on, and properties that come on. So my recommendation is if you're looking to sell and you're looking to move by probably March, April next year, then you probably should be putting your house in the market now to correspond with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly what we're seeing, isn't it, with regards to conveyancing at the moment is taking 4 months roughly. So even if you're on today and you've done nothing with your property, but you're thinking about it, nothing's going to happen until the end of February, start of March. Yeah. So if you're thinking about spring as in April, you need to kind of get that ball rolling now.
Yeah, the number of properties to market have slowed a wee bit. I would say that, but it's not diminished the house values because the restriction in supply. There's still only about 525 properties right through Fife on the market, and yet pre-pandemic levels was 1,200. And you can see that there, 75% of all the stock on the market, which is about 1,800 properties right across Fife, is actually sold and under offer. So literally, we're 1 month stock. That's all estate agents have got, because all estate agents Fife tend to sell around about 500 properties a month. So you've only got 525 on the market, then, well, literally in an ideal world, if everybody stopped listing their property for a whole month, we'd run out of property to sell.
Yeah,
completely.
We'd be having a very quiet Christmas.
I will say you'd be out of business in a month. I'm maybe to retire earlier.
Don't do that. We're not finished with you yet.
So let's not forget first-time buyers, though. They still have the land and buildings transaction tax relief to alter themselves, and the mortgages are cheap because first-time buyers still get that exemption up to 140,000, and I think they still get an exemption further than that because they're first-time buyers. At the beginning of 2020 lockdown in spring 2020, mortgage providers removed the higher risk and 5% deposit mortgages for fear of the housing market crash. Currently, the vast majority of them are now on low 5% mortgages are actually back on the market again, together with the government's own guarantee of 5% mortgages. So, the government is actually guaranteeing and backing 95% mortgages, which is exacerbating the market as well for first-time buyers. Yet, look at this, many Fife homeowners are concerned about inflation and its effect on mortgage payments. So let's look at inflation then. Inflation is important because if inflation gets too high, the Bank of England will probably need to raise interest rates to reduce inflation. Now, I argue that the Bank of England has learned a lot of lessons from the 1980s, 1990s, and the one club approach to inflation and the way it's done. It's like, okay, we're going to curb inflation, we'll put interest rates up, and that will sort everything out, because that'll stop everybody and it'll pull all that demand out of the economy and bring it into interest payments instead. But they have other indirect taxation methods and ways to do that, by increasing other things without you knowing. Stealth taxes. I laughed this morning. Classic example is I laughed this morning when it was given an indication, and this was a strong indication that fuel duty is going to be frozen. Okay, but the government's still taking in billions because the fuel duty is currently running now is of the £1.50 per litre. So the percentage that they're getting of the extra 30 pence per every litre it's poured is actually raised their taxes and their income. No wonder they're freezing fuel duty. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're still rubbing their hands and going, yeah, beauty, this is going to be a bumper Christmas.
Exactly. I mean, my folks used to always say to me when we were growing up, what you're giving in one is always taken out in another. So nothing's for free.
It's true. I mean, because mortgage payments are based on the Bank of England's interest rate, higher mortgage payments will affect people what they can afford. And again, they'll go back to that. That's why they're doing that. Normally, the higher mortgage rate, the less likely the house prices to increase. And in fact, if the interest rates are too high, house prices might actually fall as a result of it. Whilst I can't give you advice with the Bank of England and what they think of their historic 300-year low 0.1% interest, I'm still surprised that nearly 3 in 10 Fife homeowners with mortgages are not on a fixed rate mortgage. This would be the ideal opportunity to actually get in touch with your mortgage broker now and fix your mortgage rate as quick as possible. Or see if you've got a better deal out there, because if interest rates do start to go up and you're on a fixed rate deal, you've got certainty, especially with some of the rates that are on the market now. I mean, you're getting fantastic rates at 5-year fixed rate deals. Did you get a mortgage or did you do cash for your purchase there now? Or
Well, I kind of took your advice, Jim, and I didn't put all my cash in. So we did take a mortgage because
Yeah.
we could get such a great deal at the moment. And we have gone for a 5-year fixed deal because that gives us a surety and comfortableness in regards to whatever will happen. We've got a budget that we can manage to that payment to. And then I've still got my nest egg as well, which I could use for perhaps other things. So
Yeah.
it has allowed us to do that and given us a clear picture of what the next 5 year holds.
I mean, there's never been a better time to get a fixed rate deal. I mean, what was your percentage like? Do you remember?
It's under 1%. It's about 0.53 or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Sorry? What?
Yeah, I've got a really, really good deal. I know, it was crazy, so I'm quite happy with it.
0.53%?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
and
we
that's
got a
for
really good
5-year
deal.
fixed rate deal.
Yeah.
Good grief. I mean, there's people out there sitting at rates at 3 and 4%, and they're actually thinking, yeah, that's quite tolerable. But the reality is you can get 0.53% out there. Now, is that a 50% loan to value, 60% loan to value? What are you sitting at loan to value wise?
I was sitting at just over 50, so that's why I got such a good deal.
So 50% loan to value, but that's still a great deal, especially if you were considering buying cash. I mean, the reality is you could certainly, if you know your numbers and you're investing wisely, you're certainly going to make a lot more than that. But also the key here is you want to make sure you're going to make a lot more than inflation. And if inflation's predicted, if it's at 3% an hour thereabouts, and it's predicted to be by Christmas, probably around about 5%, then you want to make sure you're getting a better return than 5%, or your savings and your money in the bank are just eroding all the time.
You do have to be careful with that though as well, because we've got, if we decide to leave earlier than that 5 years, we've got quite a big exit fund to pay. But I was happy to do that because we know what our plan is, and so that doesn't scare me.
And
but there's penalties built into that. If I was to exit in 12 months' time, it would cost me more. So actually, it probably does work out to the equation that you're saying. But we've taken leap of faith in the choices that we've made.
But the key here is if you go to another property, then what they do is they'll let you port it more than likely without a penalty.
You can port your mortgage to another one.
Yeah. So there's never been a better time to get a fixed rate mortgage, really. That's what it's come down to. And there are deals out there with interest rates of 1%, as you just demonstrated. This means that if the interest rates go up in the short term, you're protected from the higher mortgage costs. Anyway, and that's it, really. And back to inflation. I mean, really, when we look at it, it's inflation did rise quite quickly and steeply in 2008 and 2009. But it came back down within a year. And I definitely think that's what's going to happen with inflation now. I think what's driving inflation just now is really the shortage of staff, the shortage of raw materials. It was similar to the credit crunch, where that was the same as well in 2008 and 2009. And it's the very same issues we're experiencing in Q4 of 2021, which is now. And the type of inflation, and yeah, there are types of inflation, in 2008 and 2009 was called push inflation. Whilst inflation is not great, push inflation could be described as a better type of inflation as long as it doesn't go on for too long. So it's actually, push inflation is good to a degree in the short term in order to stimulate the market, because prices are rising, therefore more money is coming into the coffers for the businesses running these businesses because they're getting higher prices. Therefore, they're able to employ more people, or they're able to pay better salaries. And thus, in turn, it goes back into the economy with people buying things, which in turn, then these things have to be produced by other people who then have to be employed in order to do that. So push inflation is actually quite a good type of inflation in order to stimulate an economy. That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, it certainly keeps that circle of life going, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's the Lion King, is it, no?
Yes.
I feel like I'm in that backdrop now. Do you like my backdrop for autumn?
I do. I like your autumnal look. Just like I've got my Christmas look.
So the economic crippling of hyperinflation as seen in the 1970s was pool inflation. That would be it. James actually says here, wouldn't it be better to slow down the printing of money? I absolutely agree. I thought it was quite funny this morning when everybody was talking about salary increases and more money in the coffers for the tax and all the rest of it, and the Chancellor was going on about all these things, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we've still got trillions of pounds of money to pay back from the COVID crisis. Has everybody just forgotten about this and actually just pushed it to the side and thought, hey, happy days, we're going to get a lot of money now? It's like we've still got to
put that in the tomorrow jar.
Effectively, that's what they're doing, isn't it? I mean, the circumstances can create the circumstances that really create pool inflation are not being experienced at the moment by the UK. And that's good news, because pool inflation is bad inflation, which in turn can create massive problems in the UK economy as a whole. Therefore, whilst inflation will probably rise again, as I said, by 4 and 5% by Christmas, I really don't believe the Bank of England will raise interest rates substantially, as this is the message we're hearing from them, and it's really a short-term blip. Because I'm now hearing that people around about me saying, "Will interest rates rise?" I don't actually think that will be the case. I don't think they'll do anything to jeopardise the market. I do think they will take the other measures of indirect taxation or direct taxation to take that out, because that's putting money directly back into paying off the loans, whereas interest rates isn't. Interest rates are just going back to pay back people for investing money in the banks. So that doesn't do anything but encourages people to save, more than likely. But do we really want to do that? We actually want to pay back the debt. So we're really needing to probably raise taxation or indirect taxation in order to get that money back. So I think that's what will come through in the budget coming up.
I think it might.
So
on that note, Jim, sorry, I just need to drop out, Jim, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time.
No bother. See you later. And that's what I think is the opportunity for buy-to-let landlords. So ultra low mortgages just now and the booming rental market is encouraging Fife buy-to-let landlords to expand their rental portfolios. Yet their strategy is actually changing. Yields are increasing as there are a shortage of rental properties. Now, clearly, there is a clear shortage of rental properties. When I look on Zoopla now, I'll do a quick ready reckoner on Zoopla. Maybe I'll share the screen with you, actually. Let's share the screen and see if we can get on a Zoopla window. We'll jump on it. When we jump onto a different screen here, I'll just open this up and see if we can get on Zoopla and see how many properties are on the market. Zoopla.co.uk, and then we'll jump back onto here and we'll share the screen. And here, can everybody see that? Can we all see that? Yeah, we can see that, absolutely. Okay, great stuff. So let's look at the Fife property market in terms of number of properties on. So we'll go into Zoopla and we look at properties to rent. This is for buy-to-let landlords and Fife. So we'll just type in Fife and we'll go in there. And literally, that is the number of properties in Fife for rent just now. 47. Now, I don't know about you, but out of 370,000 people in Fife, 47 properties for rent isn't going to cut it. You can see straight away that there's absolutely no properties for rent throughout Fife. So if something's coming to the market to rent, then prices are going sky high in terms of rental values, and also demand is sky high for these types of properties as well. And you can see that out throughout there as prices begin to rise. I mean, there's a 3-bedroom terrace in Cowdenbeath now, 775. That's it now, and yeah, probably about a year ago it was probably around about 650. So it's moved up £100 in a year. There's a 2-bedroom detached house in the Galdry for £800 per calendar month. There's a 2-bedroom flat to rent for £525. The 2-bedroom flats in Kirkcaldy used to get £425 to £450. So it shows you straight away that there's a huge demand in the rental market for these types of properties, and property prices moving up. No wonder buy-to-let landlords are getting in on this. There are also Fife landlords looking to exit the rental market, which is actually causing that problem as well, often because they want to liquidate their portfolio for retirement. These portfolios don't make it onto Rightmove, and they usually typically get sold off market. So I'm discussing with probably 3 different landlords just now about buying their portfolios. Now, their portfolios will never see the light of day. It'll never make it onto Rightmove. It'll never go anywhere else. They'll just want to exit the market, and these portfolios will stay in the private rented market. Now, there is a demand for private rent market for anybody out there that says, but you're taking these houses away from first-time buyers. But you've got to understand, a landlord like me, I only rent to people that actually can't afford to buy a house. So I'm taking up the capacity that otherwise the social landlords or the council would take, but they don't have enough houses to supply. They've actually not been supplying enough houses to take into account all the demand in the marketplace for people for rented accommodation. So these people actually need it. And if we take these houses off them and put them back into the owner-occupier market, there's going to be a huge homeless problem. So it's a double-edged sword, if that makes sense. Therefore, the key is here. If you're a serious Fife buy-to-let landlord, and you're looking to expand on your own portfolio, it's really important to put yourself in a position that you've got on our mailing list. That's it, really. Yeah, absolutely, James. You've hit the nail on the head. Look, James has actually said there's a couple of properties being posted in the last few days in my gold mine area that look good, a 3-bed and a 4-bed. Now, that is just speak for a buy-to-let landlord to say that they're a good opportunity. He's also going to say the council have been buying back lately also. So if you didn't notice out there, the council have actually been buying back private properties from the private market for sale. They've actually been adding 50 properties a year to their stock in order to accommodate for people that are in need. So again, that's exacerbating the market and taking and increasing that demand. So it's key you register with estate agents beforehand if you're looking for buy-to-let properties, and not rely on Rightmove and Prime Location and Zoopla and any portals, because there's a lot of buy-to-let properties that actually don't make it to the market. We do private off-market deals between people that are ready and willing and to go investors, and people that are investors that are ready and willing to sell, if that makes sense. So it's great relationships we've built up over the years, and you'll be front of the queue in your rental portfolios and not the back of the queue. I mean, just to wrap this up a bit here, to conclude, nobody knows the answer to what's going to happen in the Fife property market. But as we go into 2022, there are many factors that actually could affect that market in a positive and negative way, and we've discussed them in a wee bit of detail in here. Yet buying property is always a long-term investment, be it for yourself or be it for rent. It's never a short-term thing, and more than likely, if you're looking to upgrade or you're looking to downgrade, it's going to be your family home or your first home. Then clearly you're obviously going to go hold it for a lot longer than a couple of years, and it shouldn't be a speculative thing. Equally, if you're looking to sell, if you need to sell now, then go and sell now. Do not try and predict the peak of the market if you're holding off, because that's the worst thing that could ever happen. Because often when that happens, you end up never selling. The market drops significantly. You've lost the opportunity. You're stuck where you are, especially because you've tried to move for your need. That's the most important thing. So that's what I would say there. So if you need any advice and opinion on this from us, then please feel free to message us here direct on this post, or just drop us a line at info@fifeproperties.co.uk. Or you can call any one of the offices to discuss any more information. Now, if you're watching this on catch up, please feel free to make a comment on here as well, and we'll pick it up on that as well. And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV.